my live stream. And tonight, we have a funny story for you. So, I like to talk about my life. Well, in this story, you're going to find out how my stepfather outsmarted my brother and all his teen friends. And it was absolute genius. And I'm telling you this story because you can use wisdom. And when you use wisdom properly, you're going to get results. So listen to this story of what happened. So, growing up in the 1970s, there were no cameras around. Nobody had cell phones. And I lived in an apartment complex in northeast Philadelphia. The apartment complex was shaped in a square, and all the doors faced on the inside of the square. And out back the back of everyone's apartment were these little tiny electrical boxes. They were the breakers for each apartment's electricity. Well, back then we grew up, it was very, very rough times. Bullying was at an all time high. Bullying, fighting. I mean, back then, that's all it was bullying and fighting and parents hitting children, whipping them with belts. It was all normal back then. So, my brother and his friends decide to go out and be wise guys. And they started shutting off people's electricity because they were bored misfits and they loved to just cause trouble. Man, when I tell you we grew up in that court, it was just, we were just bad. Like, okay, my brother and his friends were older when this happened. They were young teenagers, and I was a little kid, but, watching them, it's how it was growing up. Me, if anybody, I was the peacemaker. I really wasn't a fighter back then. And yes, a misfit. I mean, we all were doing stupid things, but this was stupid. So they thought it was funny. Night after night. Whose apartment should we do next? We can't get caught. It was a group of them, about 4 or 5 of them. But my stepfather was a detective, and he outsmarted all of them. So a week goes by, 2 weeks go by. Hello, Angel. Weeks go by. They're shutting off people's electric. They would choose a random apartment. They would wait for the perfect time. They would do it late at night. They'd go behind. Nobody's looking. Shut off their electric. Ha ha ha. Another person would be a scout from across it, and they'd look and they saw all the lights go out, and all the kids laughed afterwards, and they ran and hid and went up a hill so you couldn't get caught, and walk all the way around so there was no way. And they'd do this apartment one night and this one the next. And if anybody was on their bad side, they got it. Just imagine eating dinner after a hard night's work, and boom, your electric goes out. Completely dark. The people probably didn't even know they had those boxes out back there. I don't even know how my brother and his friends discovered this. That you could go out, lift up, and why they weren't locked is beyond me. I mean, I'm sure there was a little hole there. You could have they're probably locked today. Your head hurts. You're in bed. Angel, why does your head hurt? So you're in bed. All right. Well, maybe this story will make you laugh, Angel. But it's a very important story because I want you guys to use the art of wisdom. Wisdom. And that's what my stepfather did here. And my son's sitting over here. Did I ever tell you this story? Do you know the answer?
Yes.
All right. So here we go. I'm thinking we're about a month of this. And the word is getting around. Someone is shutting off electricity. And it's getting worse and worse. And more of the people are complaining, driving the apartment complex maintenance guy crazy. The complaints are mounting. Every time the electric, goes off, they got to call the maintenance guy. It is interesting. Wait till you hear the ending, Angel. Just think about, I want you guys to picture what's going on. So here's people right in the middle of their dinner. Nobody knows when it's coming. Boom, a complete blackness. Nothing. And I don't even know if they knew how to turn it back on. So the maintenance guy would get a phone call. You'd have to interrupt him. This is going on night after night after night. And my brother and his friends, nobody knew that they were doing it at that time. Now, it got to the point where it kept happening and kept happening. My stepdad was watching. He was a very smart man. He was a detective. So he started watching. And he kind of put two and two together. Hey, Cash, how are you? He put two and two together and he realized that my brother and his friends were always gone at the time of these electrical outages. Different buildings, different apartments. This is a month now, and the whole entire complex is irate. So my stepfather caught on and he says, I think it's your brother and his friends doing this. Notice, what's up, G Knight? In the middle of a story here. And I noticed that your brother and his friends are always gone every time one of these electrical outages happen. So my stepdad got to the point now where it was obvious. He said, everybody, watch, watch. The next one that happens, I'm going to ask your brother, where was he? They're always gone. So now the evidence is mounting. And he would tell me, find out if the other guys were gone when this happened. And sure enough, I came back, said, yep, his friends Tommy and Peter, they're gone too at the time of this outage. They weren't home. Every time I try to call as soon as it happened, never around, are they? Well, hi, Leah. How are you? So here comes the big, what do they call that in the middle of a story? The climax of the story. My stepdad was a smart man, and he had to figure out a way to get them to admit it was them because it was very hard to catch who's doing it without cameras. No cell phones back then, guys. We're talking uh, 19 late 1970s. So here's what he did. Stepfather showed us one night, hey guys, I want to show you this new thing that came out for detectives. Hi, Sayla, how are you? So my stepfather purposely called everybody around the table one night, and he wanted to show everybody this new cool invention that helps detectives catch people. And he said, "Guys, look at this." He says, he told me to come over. He says, "Jeff, come over here." And he's like, "Dip your hand in this powder." And I dipped it in my powder. And he says, "Now, he's like, look at your hand." Oh, I said, "Wow." I said, "There's nothing on there." He says, "Yes, there is." I said, "What do you mean? I'm looking right at my hand. The powder's not there." He says, "Put it under this purple light." I put it in, and my whole hand blew up purple. You could see the powder as clear as day on my hand. He did that on purpose. And he purposely had my brother there watching. And he says, "Oh, you could put this powder anywhere." Detectives, what they do is detectives put it on doorknobs. And then they see if somebody touches the doorknob, it's all over their hands. So keep that in mind. So now my stepdad set the trap. We wait, another box went out, and another box went out. Oh, happy birthday, Sayla. Is that how you say your name, Sayla? Happy birthday, Sayla. So, Sayla, you're going to love the end of this story. So, my stepdad sets the stage. Powder, my brother knows. He waited a few days. He was a smart man. Now, another outage came. My stepfather called up Tommy and Peter's mother, and he said, "I would like you to bring your boys over here. Could you please bring them to my house?" So Tommy and Peter come. My brother comes, and I think there was one or two other boys that were all there. So here's these parents, here's these boys in the house, and they come in. My stepdad shakes everybody's hand. Welcome to my house. Tommy, Peter, no hard feelings here. Shakes, the mother's hand and all that. Great. So he gathers everyone around the table and he says, "You boys step up, please, to the table." He says, "I've been watching you. You guys know I'm a detective. And I know you guys are the one turning off everybody's electric." "Oh, no, no, it wasn't us. I think you got the wrong person. No, sorry, wasn't us." They said, "You got any video to prove it?" "No, no, I don't have any video." But my stepdad said, "What I do have is I showed Jeff's brother the other night that they gave us a new way to catch people. It's this powder." And my stepdad said, "Watch this." So he took his hand and he dipped it in the powder. And then he said to everybody, "Do you see anything on my hand?" They all said, "No." "Wow, that's amazing." And then he held it under the light and they all went, "Oh." He said, "Also, what I did last night, late at night, is I gave some powder to the maintenance guy and we put powder over every single electric box, right at the part that you have to lift it up. So whoever touched that electrical box, they're going to have powder on their hands." So now I look at my brother and his friends, and they're looking at each other. And boy, did they look nervous. They sure did. So my stepdad calls my brother up first, and he says, "Get under the light. Put both hands under the light." And my brother puts his hands, and on one of them was the powder. And everybody went, "Oh, oh, he did it." He said, "Wait, Tommy, you next." Tommy puts his hands under, and there it is. The purple light lights up. "Peter, you're next." Peter puts it under the light, and his hand shows up with the white powder. You could see it as clear as day. And the other two boys. And after they put their hands under there, Tommy breaks down. He panicked. He folded under questioning. "He really told me to do it. It wasn't my fault. Or he told me to do it. No, well, they made me do it. They made me do it. I really didn't want to do it. And he said he was going to beat me up if I didn't do it. Oh, that's not true." And they all started fighting. And they confessed that it was them. And they all tried to blame each other. So the mom was furious. They finally caught the people that were doing it. She said, "These boys are going to." Now, back then, I told you, the belts come off and the whippings. My brother got his butt whooped. Tommy and Peter got their butts whooped. And after they left, I was talking with my stepdad, and he said, "How did you did?" I said, "Did you really go to every single box? I mean, there's over 100 apartments. Like, how long did it take?" I said, and how do you know that the wind didn't blow it off? And how did you know it would be right? It would stay on there and work like that." He says, "I didn't." I said, "What?" I said, "I didn't go to every electrical box. Do you remember when they walked in the house? What did I do with everyone? I shook their hand." He said, "I had the powder all over my hand. They couldn't see it. And I shook everybody's hand and your brother's hand earlier. I put some powder on a glass and made sure that he touched it. So I knew he had it on his hand." And they all confessed to it. And that, my friends, is how you use wisdom. That up here, wisdom. What is wisdom? Wisdom is smarts, shrewdness. They just tricked these boys that were causing so much mischief, all this strife they were causing. he was a smart man. So, guys, you need to be wise and use wisdom at certain times. Now, I know there's a famous story in the Bible. What's the story? It was a King Saul. There were two ladies. One lady couldn't have a baby. She wasn't able to. The other lady had a baby. And the one lady stole the other baby. And the original mother was so mad that this woman took her newborn baby. She wanted one really bad. So they both go before King Saul. And they said to the king, the original mother said, "She took my baby. That's my baby." And the other lady said, "No, that's not true. This is my baby. I don't know what this woman is saying. She's crazy. This is my baby, king." Anybody remember that story in the Bible? What did King Saul do to settle and find out whose baby it was? He used wisdom, and a lot of it. Anybody? Jaden, you remember that story?
Yeah.
What did King Saul do? Let's hear it. Yes, Coda, he was a smart man. My son's going to tell you. How did King Saul? Well, before my son answers, does anybody out there know how King Saul used wisdom to solve that problem? How was he going to know whose baby it really was? I mean, you can't. They didn't have DNA tests back then. So King Saul, do you want to say it, Jaden, or do you want me to tell? King Saul says, "Okay, guard, put the baby on this floor right here. Get out your sword, cut it in half, and give each half to each mother." The woman that stole the baby was quickly agreeing and handed it right over to the guard, while the other woman dropped to her knees, screaming, crying, and said to King Saul, "Stop, stop. She can have it. It's hers. Please don't kill the baby." King Saul, what do you think he did? He said, "Give that baby to the woman on her knees. It's hers." Wisdom up here. So, guys, in your life, there's going to be times that you really need to be wise. Wise, wisdom. If you use it properly, look at the things that you can accomplish. Look at the ways that you can outsmart people up here. King Saul knew that the original mother was going to do that and throw a fit, while the woman who couldn't have a baby had no problems giving it up to the guard. Wisdom up here. Can anybody else think of any examples of wisdom? Now, you guys know I'm a big TV sitcom guy. I love TV sitcom. Does anybody have any episodes? Can anyone think of an episode where they used wisdom? What comes to mind to me is the Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch always had a lot of wisdom in it. Uh, Anybody out there watch the Brady Bunch? Is that before your time? That was before your time. Way before their time? Yeah. So if you want to go see wisdom in sitcom TV shows, just put on the Brady Bunch, and you're going to see that Mr. and Mrs. Brady always came up with wise ways to trick their kids. You're going to see the episode where the boys were pouring itching powder into the girls' uh, sleepover. Their what are sleeping bags? Is that what they're called? You know, and the way that the parents always came up with wise ways to catch the person doing it was just absolutely amazing. So that's another great place that you could watch sitcom and wisdom at the same time. I made a video with Archie Bunker. You guys could go out and see that. where there's wisdom in there. So, uh, a lot of ways, and the Bible says to pray for wisdom, that God hands it out. You read the book of Proverbs, you're going to learn a lot of wisdom there. A lot of wisdom. Now, now I want to have another conversation. How old are you guys out there? I'm really curious. Let's put a poll question out here. Need to know how old is everyone? Just like to know how old is everybody. So I'll leave that out there. Actually, watching the Flyers game right now. Oh, my daughter shut the phone. Okay, guys, you're 15 years old. Sayla, where are you from, Sayla? I'm curious of the. It's your birthday today, so you turned 15 today. Wow, congratulations. What state? What country? What state? If you're in the United States, or what country are you from? Coda, you're 21. Where are you guys from? I'm curious where everybody's from. Does anybody watch American hockey out there? American hockey? Here, I'll show you. Who wants to see a little American hockey? Louisiana, born and raised. All right, Baton Rouge. There we go. I don't want YouTube to yell at me for showing TV. They don't like it. All right, so we got Louisiana in the house. Salo, where are you from? 15 years old. Who else? Let me scroll through the chat. Leah, Leah, where are you from, Leah? And you too, G2 Night. Where is everybody from? I'm just curious. Does anybody have a channel of their own? I'm curious. Are you guys? Oh, you're from Russia. Oh, wow, that's awesome. Have you ever been to the United States, Sayla? Am I saying your name right, Sayla? I wouldn't have guessed Russian from that name. Strasty. What did I say? You know, when I think of Russia, what's the first thing that comes to everybody's mind when you hear Russia? I'm just curious. No, but you like the USA. You know, one of my favorite movies was Rocky Four, Rocky versus the Russian. They actually didn't film that in Russia, even though the movie makes it look like they're in Russia when he fights Drago in the end. No, that was filmed in California, the whole thing. I believe. I think I actually know. I think they went out to Montana when it was snowing, the whole snow scene, that type of thing. Yeah. What is Russia like now? What is it with the war going on nonstop? What is Russia like? Is it safe? Well, let me ask you this: if an American went to Russia, would they be safe? What is Russia? What do the average people think of Americans? And Coda, you said you're from Louisiana. Have you ever been up north? So I'm in Pennsylvania. You're hoping it's not as brutal as it was. What is that? Russia? Are you talking about Russia, Coda? So Coda, have you been up north at all? Have you ever been to Pennsylvania? Russia's beautiful. Yeah, see, I mean you know, I wish all these wars weren't going on so people could travel and feel safe and, you know, to go over there. I'm sure it's a beautiful country. And I'm sure the Ukraine was, beautiful and just don't understand the whole thing. I really don't. The whole fighting and all that. So like I said, when I hear Russia, My first thought is Rocky versus Drago. Then I think of in 1976, the hockey team I just showed you, the Philadelphia Flyers. They played the Soviet Union back in 1976, and back then it was very irregular to for an NHL hockey team to play a foreign team. But the Soviets were so good, and the Flyers were the two-time champions, so they just had a for fun game. And the Flyers were a brutal team. They were called the Broad Street Bullies. So Russia came here, the Soviet Union, wearing red, and man, they were getting pounded all over the place. Like, and the Russian hockey players are not big, gigantic mooses like the Philadelphia players, and they're getting smashed against the board. And the Russians don't play like that. They're finesse. The Russians were swift and quick, and they weren't used to the brutal hitting uh, that Philadelphia gives out. So, man, the Flyers pounded their daylights out. You guys could go look up Flyers versus the Soviet Union, 1976 or 75. So finally, the Russians just left the ice right in the middle of the game. They were tired of all the abuse, and the Soviets just walked right off. And so that's what comes to mind when I hear Russia. What else comes? What comes to your mind? So let's take a poll question. And I'm not downing Russia, not at all. Like I'm sure it is a beautiful country. So let's take a poll question. What comes to mind when you hear Russia? Oh, something else just came to mind. All right. So now something definitely came to mind. Okay. Now, in the world of sitcom TV, what comes to mind? And there's an episode that definitely comes to mind if somebody asks me what TV sitcom, now you guys know I love the 70s, 80s, 90s. What episode from Russia, one of my favorite shows, if not my favorite, anybody know what it is? Saved by the Bell. What Saved by the Bell episode involved a Russian? Come on, somebody get this, please. I know my daughter would get this. Come on. Anybody? Saved by the Bell. Has anybody seen Saved by the Bell? I mean, I know you guys are younger, but could have watched the replays. I'm talking the original, not the remake. Saved by the Bell. You guys are going to make me put it on, aren't you? YouTube's going to get mad at me, but it is one of the greatest episodes because I was a chess player growing up. So this hit home for me. I mean, like I said, I don't know if you watch my other videos. Hello, Muhammad. Barrel. What does barrel mean? He's spamming my channel, Muhammad. That's all right, Muhammad. You are welcome here to Daily Dose of Jeff, whatever barrel means. All right, guys. You're going to make me put on my favorite episode of Saved by the Bell. Um, Mohammed says, I love industrial techno, bro. All right, so explain yourself, Mohammed. What in the world does that mean? What are you talking about? Barrel. I don't know what Mohammed's talking about. Anyway, I am going to put on the episode with the Russian. I've heard the name, but it was never on TV. The moment I saw Russia, I thought of Bachka. What is Bachka? Does anybody know? I know what babushka is. We had these the cutest little Russian girls that lived below us, Zhenya and Lera, and they lived with babushka. They loved my nephew. All right, so I got to find the episode, guys. One of the greatest episode. Check Your Mate, I think it was called, if I remember. Oh, there's one 900 crushed. So industrial techno is a type of techno music. It literally means barrel. It's the sound the barrel makes put in a song. Oh, okay. Uh-oh, somebody's getting flagged. I got to review the message. Well, I'll show it. I won't see anything. Oh, botchka means barrel. All right. Like boom, boom. That's interesting. All right. We are going to watch Check Your Mate. Did anybody see Check Your Mate episode? Oh, man. Here it comes. Like when you hit the barrel with a hammer. Okay, I get it. I'm not sure why you're bringing that up, but hey, this is Daily Dose of Jeff. Anything goes. You're welcome. You're absolutely welcome to Daily Dose of Jeff. No discrimination here at all. All right, guys. Maybe YouTube won't yell at me for playing the sound, and I'll show you a couple quick. Anybody watch Saved by the Bell? So let's see if YouTube gets mad at me. All right, you ready? A little, real quick, so they don't get mad at me. All right. So I'll keep the phone here so I can just flip back and forth real quick. All right. So check your mate. All right, I'll turn it up for you. This, when I hear Russia, this comes to mind. Now, guys, you got to remember, I was the same age as Zach growing up. So these kids are 11th grade, maybe 11th or 12th grade. Let me see what season we're in. Season 3. So they're probably 11th grade here. Oh, this is just a great. All right, so they're playing chess. Let's look real quick. Got a little chess going on. It, all right, they make a lot of chess mistakes in this movie. I love how you got to see the nerds back then. So they make mistakes. Jesse says he opens with pawn to king rook 2. No, Jesse, there's no such thing. The pawn starts at king rook 2. He moved to king rook 4. So Screech is the champion. That's Tori Spelling, by the way, from 90210. Can you believe how they made her to be a nerd girl? Look at that. You would never know. Okay, so Screech's secret beret. He can't play and win without that. All right. Just a great episode. Please go watch this if you can. Season 3, episode 7. All right, so Screech has the beret, the red hat. All right, he's about to start another. And Screech starts off with a traditional Latvian king's pawn cabinet. So they're playing. I love they have cheerleaders coming up to the table. I like that they're playing with a clock. All right, I'm going to pause it right here. Now it's story time, guys. All right, this just got the bells going. All right, now, in school, I went to a school in Northeast High School, predominantly black school. The whites were in the minority, but we all got along, and it was great. But back then, in the 1980s, there were some different things back then than today. Number one, like this show is showing you, chess, you were a nerd. If you played chess, I mean, they got these kids, the dorkiest looking kids ever. And that's what you were thought of. And not only chess, but golf as well. If you played golf and you played chess back in the 1980s, you were a dork. The dork of dorks only played golf and chess. Well, they were two of my favorite things to do back then: basketball, golf, and chess. I was great at all three of them. Now, what's even more important, I don't know if you guys heard my other stories from the other day. In ninth grade, I cut school for like 2 months straight. My friends, we all used to meet in front of the school. We'd take a bus home, go back to my mom's apartment, and we would just hang out all day. Back then, they never called. They didn't care. Until one day we got caught where my friends were doing play karate, and one of the kids kicked one of my mom's glass shelves, and all the shelves broke, made this gigantic crashing sound. The landlord heard it, called my mother. My mom calls the school. The school says he hasn't been here in months. I get suspended. Okay. Now, when my mom reinstated me back into school, I had to go in front of the dean of the school. I live in Pennsylvania. So here I am, little me, 13 years old, golf player, chess player, basketball player. My mom sits me down in front of the dean. He had these big blue eyes. He was a heavy man, scary looking. And she found out that the dean of the school was not only the golf coach of the school, but he was also the chess coach. And my mother found this out. So, right as after I got reinstated, my mother says to the dean of the school, she looks at me and says, Jeff, do you have something that you want to ask the dean? And here I am, terrified little me, and I couldn't even talk. I was just too intimidated. So my mother says to the dean, she says, Sir, my son would like to join not only the golf team, but the chess team. And his blue eyes lit up like the sky blue sky. And from that day forward, that man became like a father to me. So I'm watching this and I'm seeing Screech play. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is I got a funny story. Well, not really funny. There were a couple stories with chess. All right. Number one, me and him bonded for the next 4 years. He was, like I said, he was like a father to me. My friend got suspended. He failed ninth grade, the one who cut. But the dean took me around to all my teachers, and he got each teacher to give me a special assignment that I could at least get a D, and I could pass ninth grade and play on the golf team. So I did that, and I was really good too. So, like I said, me and him bonded, me and the dean. Now, couple funny chess stories. So Screech is playing with a chess clock, speed chess, where you move real fast. You hit the clock, move, hit the clock, boom, boom. Well, I started teaching speed chess to all the kids in the school. See, I was friends. I played basketball, and we always went up against varsity, my friends and I. So I started teaching it to all the jocks. And at lunchtime, we had chessboards out everywhere with clocks. And the dean of the school was loving this because nobody played chess back then. And here I started this, gigantic thing at school, and they even wrote about it in the yearbook. They put, who would ever expect at prom night to see chessboards out all over the place? And they showed pictures in the yearbook, all because of me. I had the jocks, the football team, the captain of the football team, because there was so much trash talking going on back then. And this was a rough school. This wasn't no Candyland play school. There was a lot of fighting going on back then. So speaking of that, here's a chess story. At lunchtime, I'm sitting there watching everybody play speed chess, and I'm sitting around, some of the football players, big strong guys, and these two guys walk in. These, look like thugs. Everybody got bussed in from either West Philly or North Philly. And anyone knows Philadelphia, those are, some tough areas. So these two big, tall black guys walk in, and they're tall. Here I am in ninth grade. And they come in and they stand there, and they're literally like 10 feet away from me. And we got chessboards everywhere. I'd say about 300 kids in the lunchroom at this time. And our whole two gigantic tables are all chess, chess, chess. So these two kids come in, they look around. We're serving. I'm like, what? What's that mean? We're serving. That's all they said. So I'm looking at them. I have no idea what that means. We're serving. And then I look at the two of the guys that were actually on the football team playing chess. They look at each other and they have backpacks on and they look at each other. They both stand up. They both take off their backpacks. They walk slowly over to the two guys to my right. And all I see is my friend Kenny just looks at him and whammo! And you could hear the bone crunch. He hits this guy in the face with all his might, and I could hear the crunching. I still hear that sound. I hear the crunching of the bone. The place erupts. And I mean, it was like a zoo. Chess pieces are flying everywhere. And me and my friend, we said, we got to get out of here. You know, we vamoosed right out of there. So that was one chess story. And the other chess story I have, which is kind of really a fun one. So here's what happened. In 10th grade, I ended up leaving that school and I lived with my dad about an hour away. Now, my older brother, who's about 4 years older, and his friend, Scott, well, they were dating. Scott was dating the one girl back at my school, the original school. Her name was Vicky. So my brother and Vicky kind of had a thing, but Scott wouldn't let it go with Vicky. He was kind of dating her, but she wasn't interested in him anymore. So Scott says to my brother, Vicky won't answer any of my phone calls. He's like, tomorrow. Can you have the police there ready and waiting? Because he is stalking this girl. Now, my brother really liked her and she liked my brother, but he was in the way. And he was, her boyfriend, but not even interested anymore. All right, so the day comes. Now, I don't go to that school. I don't even know why I was down there and I was not in school myself. So I don't know what happened there. But the smart thing I did is I wore the school jacket because I knew it was trespassing going onto the school property, but I figured I'd blend right in having the school jacket on. And everybody knew me. Oh, I hear my wife coming in, so we'll do this real fast. So anyway, Scott, my brother, we come down. He's harassing Vicky. The cops are there. They grab him. They get him. Bring him into the dean's office. And I went to the dean's office. And they wanted to get me in trouble. And they say to the dean, you know, no, I left him out for Catherine. So real fast, guys, I'm gonna finish the story. Here I am in the dean's office for trespassing. The cops got me too, and then they said, uh, "Why are you here?" I said, "Listen. I went to this school. I was on the golf team." And the one cop made a mistake, and he pushed the dean's button, and he said, "Oh, he plays golf." And that was it. And the dean's eyes lit up when you make fun of somebody playing chess or golf. Yeah, we watched two services. Yeah, he did all those close. So, end of the story, guys. The, the cop makes fun of me, and the dean's eyes lit up, and he screamed at the police officer, "Don't you ever put this boy down for playing golf! Now, Jeff, get your stuff and get out of here and don't come back." And I ran out of there. So, guys, there's my chess stories. We'll have to finish Saved by the Bell chess episode another time. Thank you for watching Daily Dose of Jeff.